Hello, how is everyone doing today? Welcome to our Thursday coffee chat, and I am so beyond excited to be here. I hope you guys can hear me. I have one of the kids doing laundry, and I'm definitely not going to do anything to discourage it. So hopefully you'll be able to hear me over the washer. I am excited today because we have one of our members, and I think Louise has been with me since the very beginning of the Working Homeschool Mom Club. And I'm excited because not only is she a hardworking mom, but she's also the creator of Magic Forest Academy. So I asked her if she'd be willing to jump in here and tell us a little bit about her program. You know, as working moms, one of the hardest things to overcome is to find curriculum and programs that will work for us. You know, we're busy moms. We only have so much time, so much energy, so much money, and we have to balance all of that in finding the right programs. So I'm super excited to bring you Louise in to answer some questions about her nature-based programs that will work for working moms. So do you want to say hello and tell us a little bit about you and your family?
Yes, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I have been with your group since the beginning, and it's fantastic. It's incredibly valuable. And so I'm Louise Bailey, and I have my husband, Graham, and we have 4 older children. Our oldest is 28, and our next oldest are 16, 17, and 19. Or 18, about to be 19. And we've been homeschooling for over 20 years with our oldest. I became an instant mom with him. My husband had raised him as a single dad, and we got married. I was 33. So I became instant mom, and we didn't have our biological children yet. And funny enough, I actually knew more about homeschooling before becoming a mom because one of my dear friends had found his biological father, who just so happens to be John Taylor Gatto, who a lot of you might know. And he had told me about, I found my biological dad, told me the name. And I did some research and found all these books that John Taylor Gatto had written. I had no kids at the time, but my sister had 2 sons. So I convinced her to homeschool, and she loved it and raved about it. So fast forward 3 years later, I become an instant mom. And our son is deaf. And at the time, he wasn't diagnosed with autism, but he had the traits. So he could not read, write, or speak at age 8, 9. And I challenged the schools. I mean, I hadn't been a mom yet, but I thought he should be reading, writing, and speaking by that age. So I challenged the schools, and they were like, he's deaf. He has some peculiar, the autism. He just wasn't socially fitting in very well. And they said, why don't you try homeschooling? And I thought, well, I know all about it. And we started homeschooling. And our kid, within 6 months, had taught himself to read, write, and speak. And by 14, he was working for Instructables. They were paying him in gear to review their white papers. And by 16, he got himself into college, and he graduated at 21. So I am, it was hard in those formative years because I got questioned by everyone thinking I'd grown 2 heads and what are you doing? You're ruining his life and all this good stuff. So I had all that behind me. So I do realize it was hard in the beginning when you didn't have proof it works. Mm-hmm. Now I have proof. So with our 3 youngest, I just tell people, hey, look, it works. So
yeah. Wow, I love that. And of course, one of the things I love about it is that you hadn't intended to homeschool. I think so many, a lot of our moms, don't get me wrong, they've always wanted to homeschool, but I know a lot of moms in the last couple of years, especially in the last 2 years, didn't necessarily have the choice. Some of us chose to homeschool. And so I think you come into it with a bit of a different mindset, a little bit maybe more prepared. Absolutely. Those of us that, didn't. So I never intended to homeschool. I have 2 children around your kids' age, so 19 and 17. They've both finished their homeschool program, so we're graduated. But, I homeschooled all the way through, didn't have support, didn't have anyone who had been there before, pretty much winged it, shared all my mistakes with all of you guys.
Yeah.
There's that, there's a different mindset. And once you kind of get going, those first couple of years are tough. But, we have to do what's right for our kids. So I love that you shared it.
School. Yeah, you try to mimic school at home, and then you start to realize that you're not actually tied to the same routines that schools have to go through, and you can actually, there's so much flexibility with it. So it starts to open your mind up to, trying different things, especially when you realize that all children learn differently. I mean, we have 4 kids, and what worked for the first one didn't work for the next 3. And of those 3 that are close in age, one likes a lot of structure and things planned out. One is like, just let me get to it on my own, and the other one's kind of like a mix between the two. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. My kids are 22 months apart and they learn completely different. And when I tell people, because I've had some members come to us and like, is it okay to use a different program with different kids? And I'm like, yeah, actually, it's probably recommended, because I'd almost guarantee you, because I've told people, one of the programs we absolutely loved worked for my daughter and didn't work for my son at all. And that's okay.
Yes, absolutely. And I know it's frustrating because these curriculums can be really expensive. And you're investing quite a bit. So when you invest that money, you're like a typical natural parent, you want it to work, so that's where I feel like I brought something to the table that's really good for a lot of families, because I knew that children learn differently. And we also were involved in co-ops in the beginning. Ours are older now. They don't want to be in the co-ops, but in the beginning you join the co-ops to make, play dates and friends. And we had evacuated with Hurricane Katrina, so we moved a lot with 4, children. Our son was 11 at the time, the oldest one, and then we had the 3 babies. And we wound up actually moving to England, where my husband's from. So we went from, the different math system and everything, and it was like really challenging. And when you join a co-op, especially we were in London, we had so many different cultures and backgrounds, and people had their own ideas of how that co-op's going to work. But we very quickly realized, okay, we need to accommodate all, so what can we do? So we had different learning styles, different backgrounds, different, me coming from America, I had to open my mind up to how things work there. So, when I created Magic Forest, it was literally taking all that into account so that it could be flexible and can be used by nearly everyone. So
before I ask you all the questions about your program, because I have a few, friends and family call me the queen of questions because I always want to know all the I would love to ask you, because so many of our members are now working at home. What was it like? Here you started off your business. What was it like working in homeschooling at the beginning? Like, can you share a little bit about how that worked?
Yes, and I also should add, I worked for IBM for over 20 years, and I worked from home, and that's a very corporate, strict. You're on meetings with executives and stuff, so you have to close the door. And my husband was actually working at an office job he had to go to at first as well. So it was challenging. I had to open my mind up to realizing that education, schooling, does not have to happen between Monday through Friday, say 9 to 3. It was really more of shifting the paradigm of how education learning is full-time. It's always there, and you get creative and clever. I had to do that a lot with, okay, we're going to learn this, but you're going to think it's a fun game and we're just going to have fun. And you just learned your ABCs from it. So I had to think outside the box with, I need to close the door and be on these conference calls for right now, but we're going to have fun educational time in the evenings, the weekends, and my breaks, my flexible schedule. So that was, it was more for me. It was an adjustment for me versus the kids. The one moment that stands out, though, was when the 3 youngest were hitting toddler age. And I came out for a break, and then they wanted to come in with me, but I had an executive call, and they said, oh, well, we want to come with you. And I said, well, mommy has to work, but I'll be out after this call and everything. And they said, oh, but we know how to sleep as well. We'll take a nap with you. And I had no idea all that time they thought I was going, because I had an office and a bedroom. In London, the houses are super tiny. So they thought I was actually sleeping all the time. So
getting paid to nap. Wouldn't that be the dream?
I know. If only.
That is so adorable. I love that. Yeah, kids are amazing. And I agree with everything you said. I think the biggest moment for me, because I worked outside the home first and homeschooled, was so I started my homeschool like most people did. I did public school at home. I mean, like really bad, like raise your hand, call me Mrs. McKinnon. It was awful. Like thinking back, I was like, what was I thinking?
I know.
But, we don't know. So we make all these mistakes. But that moment of realizing that our kids do not need to be sitting to learn,
Yep.
Was such an eye-opener. And as working moms, I think it's so vital for us to learn to think outside the box. I always tell people you can homeschool in the mornings, homeschool in the evenings, you can homeschool on weekends, on holidays, on your breaks. And they always seem confused or puzzled, like what that looks like. So I think as more of us share, these little experiences are really important. They're building blocks. So other working moms can take that advice and, change it up or make it work for them.
Absolutely. And the thing for me was, the classroom doesn't have to be inside. And, in England, the weather's pretty much mild all year long. And you don't have poisonous predator type animals to worry about there. It's, it's just like the storybooks. You read the, Beatrix Potter and everything. It's just everything's friendly there. So I brought my office. The laptop can go outside, so we spent all day, every day outside, like most people do there, because you only get so much sunshine there, and when that sun's shining, you need to go out, even if it's just for 10 minutes and soak it in. So it's a lifestyle there. And so we took the classroom outside, and that's where it kind of started from there.
I love that. I wonder if we have any members from England or London. I hope they are watching and chime in, because I know this is a worldwide group, so we have members from all over the world. So I'm sure we have some over there. And it's so interesting because I'm in Canada. And every time I say that, people are like, oh, is it snowing? I'm like, well, no, we actually do get summer. So it's always that, like, what you think, like what I perceive. So when you say London, I'm thinking rain.
Yeah, well, it does rain a lot. I learned to always never leave the house without an umbrella or a rain slick. But it took me a while to get used to that. But what I loved about it is that it's just so green and plush there, and it's all common land. So, you don't have the ominous private property keep out signs, and then they do a lot of outdoor activities and the living museums, and there's so much to explore there, just the villages alone, So I wanted our children to grow up outdoors and connected with nature, but at the same time, you want them to learn academics. So yeah, that was the spark of Magic Forest.
So you kind of answered my question. So members here are always looking for curriculum ideas. But now we'll talk about your program. And you kind of answered that question, but I'll get you to dig in maybe a little bit deeper. Is why did you create Magic Forest Academy?
Right. Okay. Well, the initially it was because when the children were toddlers, and keep in mind, our oldest had already gotten himself into college at 16. He was living away and doing his own thing. So I didn't have to focus so much on his academics, because he did that. He made it happen for himself. And with the children in the toddler years, and you focus on the ABCs and learning the basics in math, and I made it all fun. I wanted to be prepared for that middle school age when they hit, say 7 to 12. And they were all close in age. So I had to kind of lump it together in those age groups. So I started preparing to be ready for when they hit that age. I wanted to be ready. And also I did a lot of co-op activities, events, big events. Since I worked the 9-to-5 job, I couldn't go to the co-op every day and enjoy being with the co-op, group all the time. I kind of resented that sometimes. I felt like kind of left out, but I had to make the best of it. I'm kind of one of these people that says, okay, this is how it is. Let's make the best of it. So I would put on huge events on weekends or take a day off from work, but I made them educational and fun. Like Mad Hatter tea parties that were fun for the kids on this big, outdoor field, but they were learning along the way with these stations. So I had a talent for that, and I wanted to prepare stuff that our co-op all could enjoy. So I gave myself a challenge, which was it had to be for the right ages, 7 to 12 coming up for our children. It had to be nature-based. It had to accommodate everyone and all backgrounds. as well as in our co-op, we had people who unschooled and we had people who did rigid, tight schedule schooling. So I like a good challenge, and I'm a project manager by trade, and I do a lot of research. So a lot of it was also fulfilling a need for me to have a hobby that I could do with my children. And while they played in their little imaginary land, and I'm just sitting there, I'm either going to, say knit, twiddle my thumbs, or I sat there and researched, and because I enjoy it, and I learned so much. It took me 7 years of research and writing. So I prepared. That's what sparked that interest, was to prepare for that coming up. And the reason the nature-based was I had been introduced to the Waldorf education model, as well as the Charlotte Mason. And I didn't like them 100%, but I liked bits and pieces. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of people are probably nodding their head relating to that, because there are some fantastic things about the Waldorf program, and there's some fantastic things about the Charlotte Mason, but they are a bit extreme in what you have to sign up to. And I'm not an extremist. I needed something a little bit more practical and fun, and just, everyone can get on with it. So I created my own thing.
I love that. I love the practical part.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Just a little bit.
Yes.
So I love that you explained what nature-based was, because I think sometimes people get this idea of nature-based is only nature, but I love how you mixed in fun with academics. So is the program, so it is a website. I do have it in the description of this video if anyone wants to go check it out. Would you say it's mostly online or offline, or a mix of both? How does it work?
So it's offline. I do have the website where I offer a lot of free resources based by nature theme, because a lot of people are like, oh, my kid wants to study bees. Mm-hmm. And so I have a page dedicated to bees that is a resource list of, there might be some things in there that are online, but it's all free resources that I researched and found and shared. I want to emphasize, I created this curriculum for me and my passion. It was never about making money. So I do offer a lot of free stuff. But the books themselves are hands-on, and they're very flexible. So they're designed to where you can pick them up at any part in the program. You can rearrange the units. It's 52 nature themes. So you have squirrels, bees, apples, the different seasons. All the fun things that children love, reptiles, butterflies, and you can use them as individual unit studies, which comes in fantastic for, say, unschoolers or relaxed schoolers. But I also have a syllabus that you can combine with it that shows you how you can put it together as a full year curriculum that flows naturally through the year. So you're studying berries in the summer and snow in the winter, and it is designed to where you don't have to, you can live in the desert and still study it and enjoy it because you understand the seasons. Mm-hmm. But by all means, there is a lot of, get outside and do some hands-on activities outside.
So can you tell, so I just know where to find those in the comments. You talked about, what age group is the program designed for? I think I said 7 to 12?
Primarily, yes. So I separated it into 3 stages: a stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, just because that's easy for my head to get around. I like things to be tidy and organized. And so stage 2 is more for age around 7 to 12. Now I am working on, and I have a little team now that we are going to come out with the stage 1, which will be for ages 3 to 6. And builds up to the stage 2, and then also stage 3, which will be ages 13 to 17, which takes and runs with what you've picked up from both stages. But I very much keep it flexible, so you don't have to do one with the other. It'll be something that you can just pick up and use independently or all together, because I think that's important, because I get it. Life happens. And you might get a program and you spent a lot of money on it, and you start on the, and something's going to happen. People are going to get sick. You're going to have to move, or we we evacuated from a hurricane, things happen. So I kept it very flexible so that you're not going to lose out if you have to put it to the side and pick it back up.
Okay. So I'm looking at the website and it looks like stage 1 and 3 are unavailable at this time, but they'll be added in later.
Yes. And unfortunately it is taking longer. So I was on a roll with it. And unfortunately I got my shoulder just said, you cannot be behind the computer anymore. I got this right rotator cuff thing. So I had to take a break from computers, and which was fine. I took up some fantastic hobbies, and I now do year-round gardening, no-till, and all this fun stuff. But it's taken a bit longer, and then we got on a roll with it, and it's fantastic. I can't wait to release it because it is absolutely brilliant. Then COVID hit, and it didn't hit us personally, but our partners that we're working with to create these stages, it did hit them pretty bad. So we're kind of picking that back up now, getting back on that roll, and hopefully there's no more roadblocks.
Yeah, well, life happens, right?
Yep, exactly.
So finding programs for working moms is difficult because, like I said, we have to consider not only like the cost, but how much time and energy it takes. So would you say, like, if you pick up this program, it would take a lot of time for mom to like set it up and gather all the things, or how does that work?
Well, the supplies and things like that in themselves are pretty much things you have laying around the house. So, I made sure you didn't have to go order some kind of fancy equipment that's going to cost an arm and a leg somewhere. So, and also it's a nature-based program, but I put a lot of emphasis on conservation. So there is a lot of recycle, repurpose, reused, which I think homeschoolers tend to gravitate towards anyway. So great. I found a reason for you to use all those glass jars you've saved and everything. And
I don't know what to do with.
Yes, exactly. So you get to use all that. Now, I would say the only challenge, and this is just something I didn't have the foresight for, are the literature. So there's recommended literature in each one of the books that ties to the nature theme. Most of it is, classic, and it was easy for me to find where I lived in England. But since then, I've learned that maybe it's not so easy to find in the States. So we are working on coming up with additional literature recommendations for those themes. That's the only challenge, but I find you go to your library and say, hey, I need this. Here's a list of books that I need. And they love it. As a matter of fact, the libraries are starting to find out about Magic Forest, and they're reaching out to me and registering in their library so it's available to people. And they want to put on programs with me that utilizes the curriculum. So that's exciting. I think we're going to get there with some of the literature to be, more readily available.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, libraries are amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
And they've really come a long ways, like in the last few years. One of my favorite features as my children got older, because they didn't want to go hang out in the library anymore, is the option to order, check online, click the boxes that are the books that you want, and then do pick up, and they just email me and say, okay, you can pick them up on the way home from work.
Absolutely.
And it's awesome. I'm like, yes, because before it's like, okay, how much time do I have to block off to go to the library? Which, when my kids were younger, it was great, but as they got older,
I get it. So, yeah, I don't think it, for me personally, I don't think it takes a lot of time, but it depends on how you want to use the curriculum. If you just want to have them as a guide for nature-based studies based on your children's interests, because I did write them as child-led, because I do have some children that like to take charge and do it themselves. But I also wrote it that it is organized in a way that if you want to be parent or teacher-led, you can very easily take it and organize it and arrange it yourself. I do provide a syllabus with the curriculum that gives you a lot of ideas on how to do that as well. So it really just depends on how rigid you want to be with it versus flexible. I think you're definitely going to get value no matter how you decide to use it. I do very much stand behind that it is a very good investment no matter what. Plus, I will emphasize that I kept it incredibly affordable. I've actually was fussed at by the experts because they said, you're not pricing it high enough. It's just natural. People think expensive curriculum means good curriculum. And that's not necessarily the case. I didn't write it to make a fortune here. I wrote it because it's what I'm passionate about. So I did keep it incredibly affordable, which means that people have to use it and spread the word for Magic Forest people to realize, wow, this is amazing. And that's happening. I get so many people that buy it and come back and say, I just can't tell you how much this is just so amazing. And I did write it where you only have to buy one copy. You have 5 children, you just have to buy the one set.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yep. You want to use it for 4 years, you just need that one set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that people have an idea of working moms who create things that sell them. And, we really shouldn't apologize for that, for charging for our work. Like you said, it took you 7 years of research, right? So there's nothing wrong with getting paid for that. But I also agree with many people, if the price is too low, they look at, because I do have products of my own that, they're not selling. And people are like, no, they've actually come to me and said, well, it was only like, at the time it was like $14. And I'm like, well, I figured for $14 it wasn't going to be any good. It was just junk.
That is
like, wait, yes. What? So we do, have to be careful. And I think, as you said, I've been hearing a lot about your program for a long time. I had said to you before we started, I was like, I keep meaning to reach out to talk to you, because I think finding secular programs, because your program is secular, is such a challenge. And then finding secular programs that are quality, high quality.
Yes.
Which I did not talk to you about, because I talked to other members who have used the product. And they love it. And I'm like, okay, you guys need to hear about this. So this gives you the opportunity to ask questions. So if you're watching us live or on a replay, please leave questions. If you're watching live, there is a slight delay between the program we're using and Facebook. So give us a few seconds, but leave the question. And Louise is a member of our group, so she'll be happy to jump in there and answer questions, I'm sure, on her next break.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That is the thing is, in some of the box curriculums, I get a lot of clients that come to me and say, I just spent, over $1,000 on this curriculum and my child hates it. We've been into it 3 months and it's just like pulling teeth, try to get them to use it. And, they want me to guarantee that it's going to be perfect. And all I can tell them is that I have 100% rating from my clients. I mean, they reach out to me and tell me how fantastic it is. And I hear them because I'm in all these groups. And so I'll see them talking about my curriculum, like, hey, I wrote that. And that it's just wonderful. And I feel confident, because I would never, ever tell somebody, oh yeah, buy it, you'll love it. And I feel very confident saying you're going to be very happy with it. You still might have to put it to the side because life happens and children can be, you might have a headstrong child who's like, no, I want to study rocket science right now. I don't want to study a tree. You might have to put it to the side, but it will never be because your child hates it. Your child's going to love it. And you're going to love it. I get so many adults telling me, I love this curriculum. I get so much out of it. I'm enjoying your curriculum, because you have to be there with your children a lot to do these things, Our editor, in his 60s came back and was like, sorry, it's taking me so long, but I'm just absorbed in everything that I'm reading and learning so much. I never knew this. So, and it's based on the trivium. So it's based on, logic, rhetoric, and as your child grows and matures, their knowledge and how much they get out of it is going to grow and mature as well. So it's not something that you just memorize and recite back for a test. It's something that you're actually using your brain and growing with.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about earlier how every program doesn't work for every child. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions. One is, who do you think the program would be perfect for? And then on the flip side, who should not purchase this product?
Right. So this definitely would be for, I get it, mainly parents who are like, okay, my child is spending so much time behind the computer or stuck, behind a desk. And most of my clientele are parents who are like, I need my kids outdoors. We need to get outside. We need some ideas. But you don't want to lose sight of the academics, because every one of my unit studies, the 52 nature themes, you're going to have math and science and reading and art. I put a lot of emphasis on art, and it's rich. It's rich studies. There is none of this just surface level, skimming the surface type of study. It's all highly valuable for children to take with them throughout their whole life. They're going to learn skills that are lifetime. But for people that want to be outdoors and have that prompt, it's almost like a prompt to get the kids outside without losing sight of academics. And I would say, who it's not for is if you're looking for something that's all worksheets, right? So I'm not a worksheet curriculum. I get the appeal for worksheets. You need something to put in front of kids, I get it. But this is a hands-on curriculum. It is child-led, but it is flexible so that you can take control as well. So it's also for people who understand that learning is everywhere. It's all the time. And you can actually be having fun and laughing and enjoying the outdoors whilst learning really rich math and science and language and social studies. I mean, I incorporate all of it. So yeah, if you're looking for worksheets and testing, it's not going to appeal to you, but everyone else, absolutely.
That's funny because I have checklist kids. They love that idea of like worksheets and checking things off. And so often what I do, because I know some of you have these members, is I just don't tell them that we're doing school. Like, hey, I found this thing. Let's go have fun and discover. And I feel like looking from your website, so I haven't used your program. My kids are above that age now. Of course, I never find these things until my kids are too old. That's why I'm having these talks, people. So you guys can go try these things and have all the fun. I'm like, I always say to my friends, I'm like, I need to borrow someone's little kid that I can go
I know.
play with.
I know. Ours are older now. I'm thinking about, as I'm writing the age 3 to 6, and I'm like, oh goodness, this is I wish I had the foresight to write something before I had children, but
yeah,
I get it.
Yeah. So, if you have those kids, it's really, you kind of have to be a little bit more creative in getting them outside and learning, but it makes such a big difference. So
yeah.
Anyways, I want to thank you for buying out time. I was hoping for 30 minutes and I had too long, but I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to share your program with us. I think it's going to be super valuable for those of you that are looking for nature studies that can be child-led or parent-led, that you'll have fun learning with your kids, that are affordable, that you can use with multiple children, and that are secular. So if you guys have any questions, please leave them here in the comments, and I will make sure that either I will answer them or I'll tag Louise and she'll be able to answer them for you. All right, guys. So thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we hope you have a great day. Happy Thursday.
Thank you.